Hey guys, Dusty here. Today I'm going to be giving my full review on the Hoka Bondi X. Like always, I'll go over the basic specs on the shoe, how I've been using it, who I think it's best for, and finally if I like it and if I would buy it again. Okay, so Bondi X, it's the third carbon plated shoe that Hoka's released. There's the two race day shoes, the Rocket X and the Carbon X. And then there's this thing, a Hoka Bondi with a carbon fiber plate inside. When I first heard that the Bondi was going to be released with a carbon plate in it, I laughed to myself in my head. I thought the Bondi is the furthest thing from a race day shoe, so why on earth would you want to put a carbon plate in it? And I'm not sure why Hoka released this shoe, and I don't think it is intended for race day purposes, but we'll get to that a little later. For now, let's dive into the review. The Bondi X in a men's size 8.5 weighs in at 10.5 ounces, has a 5mm drop with 33 stack height in the rear, 28mm in the forefoot. The fit of the Bondi X is true to size. I don't own a regular Bondi, but I've tried them on and I find the Bondi X to be a touch wider than the Bondi. So I have no issues with the fit. I find it to be quite nice actually. No heel slipping issues. I know others have complained about that, and if you're someone who experiences that, there is that extra eyelet so you can tie them up using the runner's knot. Some people did complain that the tongue, which is gusseted and very, very small, was too small for them and that it started to slide down during their runs. And I will say this is a very small tongue, but over 100K in this shoe, I had no issues with it actually sliding down, and I actually found it to be very comfy. There is a pull tab on the back, which is always an added bonus. Now we move along to the midsole. There's a lot of midsole. It is definitely the biggest shoe that I own. And I will say that the cushioning on this is definitely on the firm side. It's more of a dense cushion. I know other people have said in their reviews that this is a really soft feeling shoe, and I didn't find that to be the case. I personally don't find it anywhere near as soft as something like a Hoka Clifton or a Asics Nova Blast or the Nike Invincible. I was even told by a few people, and even read about it in other reviews, that there is a break-in period and slowly this will soften up really nicely. And I honestly didn't really find that to be the case. It's kind of had that firm cushioning from start till where I am now. So while there is a ton of midsole, a ton of cushioning, it's definitely more on the dense or firm side. But one good thing about that is because of the stack height, you're so high off the ground. I'm actually probably 6 feet finally in this shoe, but because you are so high off the ground, typically those types of shoes can be a little bit unstable. Whereas this one, because of the firmer midsole, and this is an unbelievably wide shoe, it's way wider than any other shoe that I own. Because of that, it does have a lot of stability and you feel very sure-footed with every foot strike. So even though you're really high off the ground, you have basically little to no ground feel. Every foot strike still does feel very stable. Then if we move along to the outsole, there's a decent amount of exposed midsole, but you are getting rubber in all the high impact areas. And I do have one issue with this outsole. I wish Hoka hadn't carved out this X out of the exposed midsole. So you can see I've picked up quite a few little rocks that get stuck in there. They're not easy to get out either, and sometimes I do feel them when I'm running. Alright, so over the course of my 100+ K or 60 miles in this shoe, I've put a little bit of everything into this one. I've done short easy runs, I've done long fast runs, and kind of everything in between. And here's what I have to say about it. First of all, I don't think this is a performance-oriented shoe, at least not for race day, not when you compare it to other shoes like the Rocket X or the Carbon X. The carbon plate in the shoe doesn't make it super propulsive like other carbon plated shoes, but it does give it a lot of stability. It is unbelievably stiff, and it does feel pretty efficient at certain speeds through the gait cycle. I read in another review that someone called this a high-end cruiser, and I think that's the perfect description for the Bondi X. I think the shoe really shines kind of in between that steady to tempo type efforts. I wouldn't say this is necessarily the best option for an easy day shoe. For myself, the cushioning might be a little firm for an easy day run, and I also don't think that I need a carbon plate in my shoe when it comes to an easy run. And then for a speed day shoe, doing faster things like race pace intervals or even faster, the shoe definitely feels a bit big and clunky, but you back off from that pace a little bit to kind of steady tempo effort, and I find this shoe cruises along really, really nicely. So with all that being said, that's a very specific range when it comes to where I think the shoe really performs well. And don't get me wrong, I think the shoe feels amazing at those efforts. But anything outside of that, I have so many other shoes that are just more versatile than this. So this shoe retails for $240 Canadian or $200 US. And while I really like using this shoe for those efforts, I don't think I would buy this shoe again just based on it's not very versatile, especially at that price point. So who is the Bondi X for? I'm not sure. I'm not even sure Hoka knows. So maybe if you know, let us know. But no, seriously, I think if you're a die-hard Bondi runner, you run in the regular Bondi and you want something that feels just like the Bondi but has a bit more pep to it, then yeah, certainly consider the Bondi X. But honestly, for that runner, I would probably just recommend that you try the Carbon X, as it's more performance oriented than this shoe will be. Or if you're someone who wants to try a carbon plated shoe and you want something that is really stable, because that's very common in all these carbon plated shoes, that they have such high stack height and the foam is super squishy, they're really unstable shoes. Whereas this has that dense foam and it's ultra wide. This is an unbelievably stable shoe. So if you wanted to kind of dip your toes into the carbon plated running shoe world, Bondi X could be a good starting point for you. So anyways, I'll be using this shoe for a bunch of my long runs over the next 16 weeks as I prep for the BMO Marathon in Vancouver. But ultimately, once this shoe kicks the can, it's probably not going to be one that I'll buy again. And I'm curious, if you have this shoe, let me know down below in the comments what you think of it and how you use it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.